What's up everyone, welcome to the Pennzoil 400 Top 5 DFS Picks video for Sunday, March 5th. And we're continuing our West Coast swing here. We are in Sin City at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And as always, I'm your host, Chris Pennell. You can find me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. And this video is presented by PrizePicks. In today's video, we are going over general track strategy, how to approach the slate from a DFS perspective, and my top 5 favorite plays on the slate. Now keep in mind this video has been recorded pre-practice and qualifying. And unlike last week, the weather looks great in Vegas this weekend. So we are going to have that on the schedule here. So some of my thoughts and opinions on these drivers could end up changing. So make sure you stay up to date on what happens on the track on Saturday and Sunday. And you can always check out the website for the projections and ownership projections that we will have in place once those have been completed. And as far as how we should approach this slate from a DFS perspective, I'm not really thinking anything too out of the ordinary here. It's just your prototypical 1.5 mile cookie cutter track for the most part. We have 267 laps on the schedule, which is nearly 70 more than last week. So there's going to be more of an emphasis on dominator points. And last week was kind of weird because we had so many other drivers starting in the back that had big names who were kind of forced to go place differential. But this week, I'm expecting qualifying to take place. I'm not expecting a lot of big name drivers to crash out during qualifying. So we should have a bit of a normal starting order here with a lot of the big names starting closer to the front because they have the faster cars. So we're going to usually be around 2 dominators and then just fill the rest of your lineup out with guys that either have place differential upside or high finishing position upside as well. And if you're looking for similar tracks, I think the best comp to Las Vegas is probably Kansas. You could maybe throw in Michigan and all the other 1.5 mile low wire tracks as well. And even though Auto Club is a lot more tire wear, I do think a lot of the drivers that were fast last week in Auto Club will be fast here again this week since we're so early in the season. All right, moving on to the picks, we'll start with number 5, and we have Chris Buescher here at $1,600 on DraftKings, 62 over on FanDuel. While he's not a flashy play, we don't really want flashy out of our cheap drivers. We just want them to stay clean and finish races, and that's something Chris Buescher has been able to do. I'm looking at a 5-race sample size for the data set that I'm looking at this week. I'm using Auto Club from last weekend just because it's fresh for the 2023 season. And I'm also looking at the 2 Las Vegas and Kansas races from last year because I think those are going to be the most comparable heading into this weekend at Las Vegas. And Chris Buescher, while he wasn't amazing or anything, he averaged around 25 DraftKings points per race, close to 50 on FanDuel, which is obviously different scoring, but an average finish inside the top 18, running position around 20th place, 3 top 15 finishes, and 4 top 20s. And he also finished inside the top 15 last weekend at Auto Club, and Brad Keselowski also had a pretty strong race as well. So I'm not really looking for any flashy points here from Chris Buescher. I'm looking for 25 plus, and as long as he doesn't start within the top 10 and he can offer some place differential upside, I don't think he's going to be a bad play. Now, it's hard to say who all my favorite cheap drivers are going to be without practice and qualifying yet, and that's something that's certainly going to be a telling sign. But I do think Buescher will be set up well here. And moving on to number 4, we're looking at a driver that I think is way underpriced this week and was underpriced in the betting markets until he got bet down. But Daniel Suarez of Trackhouse Racing, $7,600 on DraftKings, $7,500 over on FanDuel. And Trackhouse did not miss a beat last week. They had 2 of the fastest cars in the field, he and his teammate Ross Chastain. But Suarez, he's had some decent speed at these track types, even dating back to last year as a top 5 finish, a couple of top 10s, and a decent amount of fast laps and lap lead points for a driver that's this kind of a price point. Usually we don't see these kind of drivers in the 7K range have much dominator points whatsoever, but Daniel Suarez is the one guy that's sticking out here that actually has had that upside looking at this data set. And he had one of the fastest cars last week in the Auto Club. He had a speeding penalty that put him to the back. He was able to work his way all the way back up to the front in a quick manner. So I don't see why the speed's going to be gone this weekend. I think his teammate Ross Chastain is going to be fast. Suarez was fast in Vegas last year, as was his teammate. I think he should be in the 8K range. We're getting him in the 7K range. I think he's a really good value this week, no matter where he starts. And before we get into our next pick, I have to mention our sponsor, PrizePicks, because they do make these videos possible. And as of right now, for your new user over on the website, you can use promo code AWESEMO to get an instant deposit match bonus up to $100. And in addition to that, you can also get a free month of Stokastic Platinum. So come and take advantage of all the tools that we have on our website to help you make the best selections over on PrizePicks, FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever it is, you name it, we got the tools to help you out. So again, that's promo code AWESEMO. Take advantage of the awesome deal that we have currently going on in place. And moving on to number 3, we have Alex Bowman here, the 48 car for Hendrick Motorsports, $8,500 on DraftKings, $8,200 over on FanDuel. And he actually has performed very well at these track types dating back to last season. Had a pretty fast car last week, kind of trailed off towards the end, but still got a top 12 finish, which is very solid for Alex Bowman. But looking back in this 5-race sample size, he's actually averaging some of the most DraftKings points per race. 3rd, actually, and he also won this race last year. Kind of backdoored his way into it, but still put himself in position to be there at the end. We're talking 56 DraftKings points per race, an average finish of 5.5, which is only behind Ross Chastain, the second best average running position, again, only behind Ross Chastain, the second best driver rating. Has a win, like I mentioned earlier. Decent amount of dominator points, 35 laps led and 15 fast laps. So yeah, Alex Bowman, I don't think he's going to be that popular. He usually isn't. He's always in kind of a weird starting spot, but I do think he's a threat to dominate this race. I wouldn't say I expect him to win, but I do think he can be a top 5, top 8 contender. And like I said, he usually has a bit of a tricky starting spot, so make sure you check our ownership projections after qualifying takes place so you can see if we have some positive leverage on him. And if you are interested in the projections and getting access to that, you can use promo code SCORE to get your first week half off. And moving on to number 2, we kind of mentioned him a few times already, but we love his teammate Suarez, so we have to like the main guy here, Ross Chastain, 10,300 on DraftKings, 13K flat over on FanDuel. It's hard to find a better driver at these track types last year, and specifically the track type that we're looking at this week for Las Vegas, Kansas, and Auto Club last week. Ross Chastain had a super fast car last week. Just Kyle Busch was just a little bit better, but Ross absolutely killed it last year. 5.6 running position, which was the best driver rating, the most dominator points, 5 top 10s, in the top 10 each and every single time in the data set that we were looking at. Some of the best odds to win this race over in Vegas, so really hard not to like Ross Chastain. He can be a bit of a wild card, tends to find himself in trouble a lot, but he has a great pit crew, one of the best in all of NASCAR, which is going to help him maintain and gain spots on pit road to get him up front and accumulate those dominator points that we're certainly going to need. And he also killed both Las Vegas races last year. And before we get into the number 1 play here, if you guys do enjoy today's content, make sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. Tons of content getting posted each and every single day here, so come and check it out. No matter what sport you're interested in, we probably cover it. Anyway, getting to the number 1 play here for the Pennzoil 400, we are looking at no other than the guy from Las Vegas, Nevada, Kyle Busch, $10,900 on DraftKings, 14K flat over on FanDuel. If you were under the assumption that he was in a bit of a downgraded equipment this year, going from JGR to RCR, that is just simply not the case. He had the best car in the field last week. He won the race. And I would not be that surprised if we went back to back. And I should mention, he's running the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series this week, so he's going to have 2 races under his belt on this track. So he's going to be well prepped heading into this week and also get practice as well. But he was great at the 2 Las Vegas races last year. He almost won this race on a parts car. It was very good in the fall as well. And looking at these 5 race sample size data set that we were looking at, second most DraftKings points per race, the most FanDuel points, has a win, 4 top 5s, and a good chunk of dominator points as well, and actually the most fast laps. So it's going to be hard to bet against Kyle Busch here. No, it kind of feels like we're chasing from last week just because of how good he was, but I think the speed's going to be there, and all the data points point to him being fast once again. So just to recap, at number 5, we have Chris Buescher, number 4, Daniel Suarez, number 3, Alex Bowman, number 2, Ross Chastain, and number 1, Kyle Busch. But that's all I got for you guys this week. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, make sure you leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I'd be more than happy to get back from you. That's it. I wish you the best of luck, and I'll see you all next week.